How is amyloidosis treated?
So the drugs that we use to treat light chain amyloidosis, most of them are barred from multiple myeloma, and that until about a month and a half ago, there was some March of 2021, there were no drugs approved for treating amyloidosis. But we know that most drugs that we use in multiple myeloma should work in amyloidosis also, again, because it all boils down to these sick plasma cells in the bone marrow. But as of a month and a half ago, the daratumumab medication was now approved for treating amyloidosis. So that drug has now, again, first drug that's been approved for treating amyloidosis. That's great. We use that one quite a bit. And then otherwise, we still borrow a lot of drugs from multiple myeloma. So a lot of the same drugs that we use for treating multiple myeloma, we use in amyloidosis in slightly different combinations and doses, but it's a lot of the same drugs. So all the same drug classes, proteasome inhibitors, immunomodulatory agents, the monoclonal antibodies, all the rest, and even stem cell transplant.
What is the most common treatment for amyloidosis?
There are many types of amyloid, but AL amyloidosis, or the closely related subtype AH amyloidosis, both of which are clonal plasma cell diseases, like multiple myeloma, are typically treated with the therapies that we've developed for multiple myeloma because those clonal plasma cells are susceptible to these therapies just like myeloma plasma cells are susceptible to them. We actually commonly use myeloma regimens to treat AL amyloidosis. Cybor-D, which is the combination of cyclophosphamide, bortezomib, and dexamethasone, is probably the most commonly used regimen in the United States. A similar regimen of melphalan, bortezomib, and dexamethasone is used a bit more commonly in Europe. And more recently, there's been some great data about using the monoclonal antibody daratumumab to treat AL amyloidosis with really nice efficacy. When we use myeloma therapies to treat amyloid, though, because of the way amyloid can affect the patient's organs, particularly the heart and the kidneys, sometimes the doses or the intensity of the therapy needs to be reduced to make it more tolerable for amyloid patients.
What drugs are used to treat amyloidosis?
All types of amyloidosis are treated completely differently. And a lot of that has to do with where it comes from. One of the interesting things about amyloidosis is that it's almost a convergence of different disease processes in the same organs. And what I mean by that is that when people have amyloidosis, the problem is that this abnormal protein deposits in the different organs, such as, let's say, the heart. But in different people, that amyloidosis can come from different places, different sources. And so in light chain amyloidosis, the problem is plasma cells in the bone marrow that are sick and they're proliferating too much and they're making abnormal proteins that deposit in different organs that then form the amyloidosis, and that's light chain protein. And conversely, when people have TTR amyloidosis, that protein actually comes from the liver. It's the liver making what's usually a normal form of this protein called TTR. There are mutant versions of this also, but primarily normal TTR, and that protein then deposits in the different organs and causes them to have trouble functioning. And so completely different sources of the problem, but in all of them, they converge in these different organs where the protein deposits and causes amyloidosis.
The treatment strategies mimic those of multiple myeloma because, again, the cell of origin is similar. But the one thing that must be recognized in the community is that the pathophysiology, even though the cell of origin is similar, the pathophysiology in the patients is different, so that patients with amyloid tolerate treatments very differently than does a myeloma patient. I would say amyloid patients are often more frail and subject to toxicity because they have heart failure or low albumin or kidney dysfunction that makes them sensitive to treatments. But if we say what are the standard treatments for patients with amyloidosis, the mainstay used to be high-dose melphalan and stem cell transplant when we didn't have any available drugs. And actually, about 30% of patients can go into remission with this treatment and then not require additional therapy, distinct from multiple myeloma patients. If you go into remission or a complete remission, if you have amyloidosis and you go into complete remission, there you often can have a durable response for upwards of decades. But there was more toxicity with high-dose chemotherapy compared to multiple myeloma, and really Velcade or bortezomib has become a new standard since it's been developed, because in the US, Velcade plus Cytoxan and dexamethasone, the CyBorD regimen, has great efficacy. In the ex-US, the combination of Velcade, melphalan, and dexamethasone is really the standard of care, I would say. There's excitement around the novel antibodies in multiple myeloma. It also seems that patients with amyloidosis have exquisite sensitivity to the antibodies, daratumumab or isatuximab, and those studies are ongoing. And a phase 3 trial is currently enrolling with CyBorD plus minus daratumumab in the first-line setting.
On January 15, 2021, the Food and Drug Administration granted accelerated approval to daratumumab plus hyaluronidase in combination with bortezomib, cyclophosphamide, and dexamethasone for newly diagnosed light chain AL amyloidosis.